Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. And of course, continue my theme of discussing some of the Universal horror films. And we'll be discussing the film that really set the trend. And based on what other movies are based on, especially in the genre. And of course, the 1931 Universal film Dracula. So of course, Bela Lugosi, Dwight Fry, once again, Dwight die, because he always ends up dying in every film. And Edward Van Sloan, who played Dr. Van Helsing. Because it was really the first really speaking film of a horror film. Because there were other horror films basically during the silent film era, like I mentioned previously, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Family Opera, and also Dramas. But Dracula was really the first really speaking film in terms of a talking picture of a horror movie. And of course, Bela Lugosi was casted. And the funny thing a lot of people don't know is that a lot of people think this was actually based on the Bram Stoker novel of the same name, but it really wasn't. It was actually based on a stage play which Bela Lugosi starred in, so that's how he ended up getting cast, because he starred in the play version. And so because people knew his reputation for playing Dracula in the stage play, so that's how he got cast. Of course, he made movie history and became one of the masters of horror films after, for years after that, to his death, I think in 1959. So over 20 years, he became one of the masters of horror, along with Boris Karloff. Well, of course, those of you who don't know the story, I mean, you gotta be living in a cave somewhere. The story starts with a stereotypical carriage ride, which did start off a lot of horror films. And I think the only horror film that actually started off with the carriage ride was a movie I reviewed a year ago called White Zombie, which of course also starred Bela Lugosi, but started off with a carriage ride. And Dwight Fry was actually the first real character in the film that people meet. And he had a deal, he was like worked in a I forgot what it was, but broken treating a land deal with Count Dracula. And he was made a pit stop, and so started to go any further. So the carriage driver says, why? Because they're not going to be running around and driving my carriage in the middle of the night. It's after midnight. He says, why? Because of there's vampires running around this area. And if you're out after sundown, you're going to get from this thing. And my friend's character didn't believe it. I have to get to Count Dracula's castle. I go, who? And he says, Count Dracula, I have some paperwork that he has to sign for me. And of course, the villagers, the peasants in this village were all crossing themselves and praying for this guy, because they knew as soon as they get into the castle, they're going to see him alive again. And sure enough, that's what eventually does happen. And the land that Count Dracula was, and of course he had the famous introductions, and coming down the stairs, he says, I am Dracula, with that Hungarian accent of his. And of course he brokers this deal to go to London and bring in 4 boxes, and of course were all caskets of him and a couple of his wives. And of course he convinces Dwight Fry to be his like a slave or something, because the rest of the film Dwight Fry goes crazy. He goes Dracula's master, and as soon as the ship lands at docks in London, that's when he goes crazy. He has a crazy look in his eye and a crazy laugh. And of course they locked him up in the psych ward. And of course that's when Dracula wakes up, and of course he escapes. And of course what happens, of course he dies at the end of the film. What happens is it happens way too fast that the people in the town, particularly Dr. Van Helsing, I mentioned earlier, played by Edward Van Stone, recognizes who it was because he happened to see in the mirror that Dracula was not casting a reflection. That's when, of course, the movie that sets the trend of what you do against a vampire. The cross, the crucifix. And the other thing that brings up the garlic thing to maybe like later on in other Dracula films, but in or the vampire films, we came up with the garlic. But this one came up with the crucifix, and of course it goes nuts. Dracula goes, makes a hissing noise with the crucifix. He says, "Oh, I know you're a vampire." I said, "How do you know?" Because he didn't cast a reflection. And of course, they're trying to do all those ways to stop Dracula. Of course, Dracula trying to stop Van Helsing, and of course, it didn't work. And of course, what happens? Of course, in the end of the film, the movie was about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes, or an hour and 11 minutes. So it's a very, very short film. Of course, what happens? Of course, I won't give it away. So spoiler, that Dracula does get killed at the end of the film. But of course he gets reborn in another Dracula movies. And then of course, the legend is he can't kill off Dracula. Like you do in the other horror films, like with the Wolfman, you can kill the Wolfman, you can kill the Frankenstein's monster, you can't kill off the Mummy. You can't kill off, of course, in more modern horror films and slasher movies, you can't kill off Jason, or Michael Myers, or Hellraiser, and even though I never saw Hellraiser, or Freddy Krueger. Those stereotypical slasher films that I grew up on in the 80s. But Dracula, of course, set the trend, and every other Dracula movie after that. Of course, in the early 90s, there was a Bram Stoker's Dracula movie that's going to make an original novel. I never saw that, but I was parodied on The Simpsons, on one of the Simpsons Halloween shows. They spoofed that one with Mr. Burns being Dracula with a vampire with a white wig. I thought it was kind of funny that they did that spoof. But in terms of course, going back to the original Dracula movie, this one is so stereotypical with the trend or the rules for Americans being in foreign lands, dealing with these creatures, in all the other films. I mean, that's what happens in all the other Universal horror films in particular. When you have this foreigner or American fighting against a foreign creature, like Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff with a British accent, who speaks with a British accent, because I think obviously he was British, or with Claude Rains. I don't know what Claude Rains' nationality was, but you have all these other guys with the accents, and you have an American fighting these villains. So this is 1930s, so you have the racial nationality maker at the time, in the 1930s, in these horror films. So look at go America fighting the foreign horror creature, fighting off a foreign vampire or monsters and all the other stuff. Kind of like what the uproar was in the 30s with the Nazis coming to power, and this was like 4 or 5 years before Hitler took power, but they copy that. They translate that into the movies. But that's what Universal did. Not only that, but a lot of horror films were in the 40s as well. But like I said earlier, Dracula set the trend for the modern day horror films. And of course, there were so many different versions of Dracula. Not only the Universal one, but for in England, they did their own version of Dracula with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. I think Christopher Lee played Dracula, and with Peter Cushing played Van Helsing. Of course, both of them ended up getting cast, ironically, and both of them ended up getting cast in Star Wars. Christopher Lee in the prequels, and Peter Cushing in the very first Star Wars film. But in terms of the films itself, I thought it was a great, if you want to get your feet wet and watching horror films, I think let's just start with the original Dracula film and then build your way up to the Universal movie chain. Of course, you can argue that the movies are too short, but they're all enjoyable movies and you get through them pretty quickly, especially if you're going on Halloween during a marathon of these films. It's really great, and we're really missing out. And I found out thanks to Facebook, because there is a Universal Monster horror movie page on Facebook, and somebody on their page posted that TCM, Alternative Classic Movies, had a habit of showing these classic horror films. They're not doing it this year for Halloween. And I think they are showing horror films, but not to the classic monster movies that we all want to that should be shown on Halloween. Well, I know that AMC, American Movie Classics, is going to be showing the Halloween movies. But I think from Halloween 2 on up, they're not even showing the first Halloween movie, which I feel is a disgrace. If you don't show the first Halloween movie, it's a disgrace. And what the Sci-Fi Channel used to do, when the Sci-Fi Channel first started, I know I'm going on a tangent, but what the Sci-Fi Channel used to do was they used to show the 4 full weeks in Halloween, depending on how the days of the week come out. In terms of the start of the month or whatever, the 4 full weeks of Halloween, from Monday to Friday, the 4 full weeks you have, they used to show the Universal horror films every week, at 9 o'clock every night, Monday to Friday. And fortunately, they haven't done that in years, unfortunately. Because what they'd be doing is throwing their own original horror films like Sharknado or these cheesy vampire zombie films. Because of series like The Walking Dead, those movies, anything with zombie related is popular nowadays. So they are not showing the classic Universal monster movies. Like one week they show Dracula, one week the Frankenstein movies, the next week the Wolfman, and the next week the Mummy. And it all used to be hosted by, ironically, Christopher Lee. And then on Halloween itself, I think one year that I saw, when I had originally, one year they showed the classic B movies, the B science fiction films from the 1950s, like Came from Outer Space, or The Thing That Wouldn't Die, or The Living Brain, all the Killer Tomatoes, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, all these cheesy B science fiction films. And then the next year on Halloween, they did the same thing with showing the Universal horror films during the week. And then when Halloween came, I think that year came out on Sunday, they showed all the classic zombie films. That's about any zombie film they could dig up. And the last film they showed was when we did it previously, the classic Night of the Living Dead, the original version in 1968. But unfortunately, like I said, they don't show these movies anymore. At least the Sci-Fi Channel does. The local PBS station here in New York used to show, they did those reviews, showed that movie on Halloween one year. It came on Saturday night, and they showed about like 6 movies, and one of them was the original Night of the Living Dead, and the original Little Shop of Horrors, plus all the other films that I previously reviewed already. But like I said, sorry to go on for a tangent for the last couple of minutes, but to say that Dracula and all these Universal horror films should be shown on regular television. I don't know why these regular channels don't show these movies. I feel that these movies should be shown on regular television, not on cable. If it's shown on cable, okay, I don't have a problem with that, but I feel they should be also shown on regular television so that everybody can enjoy it, because not everybody can afford cable. So these movies, I feel they should be enjoyed by everybody. As lame as it could be, as short as they are, they should be shown on regular TV. That's that's the way I feel. And Dracula should be shown on regular television because so that it could be shown to a whole new generation of see this is what classic horror movies are, not the slasher movies that's been made for the last 35 years, almost 40 years now, with going back to Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's been almost 40 years since we grew up with the slasher films. But I'm talking about original classic films like Dracula should be shown on regular TV. I'm sorry for going for this little rant, but I feel that these movies should be going on TV. And Dracula is the quintessential horror film, and it should be shown. And that's about it. But in terms of the film itself, it is definitely one of the best and more classic and most parody horror film. And that's what this movie made Bela Lugosi's career. And of course he made a ton of horror films ever since for Universal. And so that's my review of the original 1931 Dracula. Please check it out. I have found the movie on YouTube. So please check out the movie on YouTube. I think that the soundtrack of the film has been remastered for the version that is on YouTube. So please check it out. Please feel free to comment down below. Feel free to rate the film. Please subscribe to my channel up above, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.